to the Europe. First of all, as you know, from the next year, it was our presidents approve the export of the weapon to the Western countries, to the European Union. We have to develop joint venture. We have to invest in the Ukrainian technology and produce something together. I would like to say, in addition, today I came from the Hong Kong, from the China, because unfortunately right now it's our main supplier. Our company, only my company, spent for the last 12 months more than $1 billion to the Chinese supplier. Why so? We would like to make diversification. We do not want to work with China because first of all it's like forbidden. The second one, it's high risk of supply chain. That's why we would like to buy the spare parts, the technology in Western countries. But unfortunately, it's impossible to do because we do not have in the scale that we need, first of all. That's why, first of all, we have to focus on localization. We have to focus on the joint venture between the European private entity and Ukrainian private entity and develop defense ecosystem together.
Thank you very much. I think maybe we will return to what you said last as for the China element here. But I want to move over to you, Stefan. And I would actually like to ask the same last question to you as well. Given that we, as we heard, that the most innovative drone solutions have come from startups and small companies, while on the other hand, Europe's defense sector has traditionally been structured along very long processes and nationally oriented. So how to make sure that one can have the smaller startups enter this world?
Yes, thank you. First of all, I very much would like to not reduce this to drone technology. I think a lot of interesting technology is coming out of Ukraine, like what I call software at speed, automation, AI. So I would not like to limit it to that. What I think is agility, and agility in a software sense is key here. You have to act fast, and what we as outsiders observe in the Ukraine is a very close loop between military users and the industry. What I hear, it goes down to battalion level, the cooperation, where we have a close feedback loop. What works and what doesn't work, and it gets immediately back into development and into production. This is very important, and traditionally in the West we have two sides or even three. We have the user of the equipment, we have the procurement, and we have the supplier, and they are not always cooperating, but being related in some strange relationships, and this has to fundamentally change. On the other side, we have to strike the proper balance between agility and maturity or security. For the sake of agility itself, we can't give up all senses of operational security, of communication security, IT security. A proper balance needs to be found. And of course, we need a fundamental change. We need procurement rules. It's not two sides or three sides. It's one side working together. And as you said, now we have money, but no time left. So this close cooperation, while being still proper, is key to that.
Thank you. So I was going to ask you how we create access for these small companies without losing control and accountability, but I guess you kind of answered that by the procurement rules.
Yes, definitely. Of course, procurement rules need to apply, but they will have to change. Yeah? It needs to be a proper process, and there are processes available to do that, also in European law, and they just need to be used.
Thank you very much. So, Solomiia, I'd like to ask you, so how can Europe cooperate with Ukrainian defense companies in a mutual beneficial manner, in your opinion?
I want to remind you the program which was established at least 2 years ago when we had a formula in Ukraine for Ukraine. Now we have the formula build with Ukraine actually, but build with Ukraine in Ukraine and outside Ukraine and buy for Ukraine until we have this still the war period. But I would say that I want to shift our attention from the cooperation. Why? Because for the last 3.5 years of the full-scale invasion, we found at least a couple options how to cooperate and build production in Ukraine, outside Ukraine, Danish model, whatever, how to support Ukrainian technologies, how to build with Ukrainian technologies outside, and so on and so on. And now, that's a huge, big program. We are asking actually our European allies and friends to spend at least 0.25% of your GDP which you spend to your defense industry to Ukrainian needs. But still, I think we have to shift our attention from only cooperation, because we have really big and huge challenges which we are facing both sides and trying to find the solution and still cannot. And it's not only about bureaucracy and legislation of the procurement, where you have the problems. I mean, Europe and collective West have the problem, and Ukraine still have with the procurement. But at the same time, that's first of all the very basic things which we need, starting from the drones, ammunition, whatever. That's explosives, and that's all the chemicals. That what the whole Europe, not only they, facing the lack of it. The building production factories and so on. That's the first point. The second one, that's the expanding and working hard on artificial intelligence. That the second issue, which probably Oleksandr will tell you how we see it on the front line and how we are affecting on that. Because believe me, 80% of what is destroyed on the front line, that's destroyed by drones. And if we won't work or will lose the time in comparing with Russians, we'll again be a step back from the Russian side. And I'm not very optimistic as we had the political panels, during the whole morning, that the mood is very optimistic. It is not in Ukraine, because what we see now, that's not a failure, but huge, big problems where we don't see even the light on at the end of the tunnel. So artificial intelligence. That's the second point. The third one, I would say that that's Chinese counterparts, components. We are all fighting with the Chinese influence, but 90% of literally each drone is dependent on Chinese production. And that's, I would say, one of the key things where we can just stop. If China stops the selling or whatever towards, like in their politics, towards Europeans or Ukraine, or we're still trying to substitute their DJI, the very simple Mavic, which is so spread still on the front line. As far as I know, we finally found at least couple of types of the drones, which is we call China-free drones. But still, that's what we'll face, and we're facing in Ukraine and outside of Ukraine in Europe. And the last one, that's legislation and bureaucracy. And I think these issues and questions. That's the basic thing we have to pay attention at, because we found the options and approaches how to build joint ventures, and Rheinmetall was one of the biggest in Germany's investment and example in Ukraine a couple of years ago, which started this venture in Ukraine starting with the repairing of the equipment and then localization of the production and so on. We see the Denmark, Finland, France, Lithuania, all Ukrainian friends who are very open and came with their investment to Ukraine. But at the same time, if now we see the drones in Denmark, Poland, Estonia, the fucking jets which are just breaking their airspace. You have to respond. That's all. But you have finally to wake up and accept the reality. It's not only about the Ukrainian shield being for you for the last 3.5 years. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Artificial intelligence, moving on to you, Bartosz. It is already reshaping defense production and military systems, and we've heard Solomiia talking about it here as well. How does AI boost research and development, efficiency and effectiveness, especially in the realities of armed conflict, as we see in Ukraine, from your perspective?
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you guys for your resilience. I really appreciate it. It's never enough to express gratitude. AI is being discussed over and over again, but it's absolutely nothing without data. And actually, AI, it's all about collaboration. It's about contributing with data. So this is something absolutely essential for any improvement. So in my opinion, this ability to collective learning is something that obviously distinguishes us from other species. So we have to develop this ability not only within our systems, not only within our applications, but we finally have to learn from AI ourselves. 10 years ago, famous chess master Kasparov wrote a book. It was in 2015, Winter is Coming, and he was warning us what's going to happen. And it took us 10 years actually to finally face the reality that we are living in right now. So if it takes only 3 weeks to produce MVP, only 3 months to develop, that shows the pace that we have to face also facing our enemy. So having said that, I truly believe that it's not only about models. It's about creating a vehicle to share those experiences, not only on data level for each particular machinery that we will be using, but most of all, how we can share our experiences in order to be able to drive better supply chain management. As we are saying, there are so many bottlenecks and potential points of failure that we need to face. And it's, again, about common understanding and contributing to the common knowledge and collective effort to create sustainable machinery after all, because it's going to take not weeks, months, probably many years to come, and will affect entire generations. So I am optimistic as an entrepreneur, but looking at what's going on, I think there is no other option but everyone's hands on deck, and we have to contribute both from public sector, from enterprises, as well as from universities, and contributing to the very well established vehicle that will be gathering and streamlining every data, every invention that will be also very much protected, because it seems like the chase is on and it's going to stay with us for a while, but probably General knows better than me.
Okay, thank you. So General, or Krzysztof, which I'm allowed to call you, you said. So how do we design and protect an arms production system that is resilient not only against physical attack, but also cyber threats, hybrid operations, and supply chain vulnerabilities?
So first of all, thank you for keeping me today in the discussion, great discussion. Before I will answer your question, I would like to be back to the artificial intelligence piece of our discussion. Why? Because you just called me, the general knows a little bit more. I would like to share with you, this is not the secret because I'm not authorized to share with you the secret information, but this is the publicly it was announced that NATO is bringing the artificial intelligence more and more. Maybe you recently read the article about the Maven smart system, which is currently under the implementation phase across the NATO. Because I'm even in the Polish uniform, as you see, but I'm come from Brussels, so, and we as an agency, we are working with that, with the civilian vendor who is introducing that in practice. But going back to the question, designing and creating the arms production system is which is resilient to the hostile action, especially the cyber operation, involves a comprehensive approach and address not only physical, but also the digital security. And in that context, I would like to provide you some thoughts, some key steps and consideration, starting with the risk assessment and threat modeling. We need to conduct the risk assessment. Why? This is obvious. We need to identify the potential threats and the vulnerabilities. Why? Because we need to patch our systems. And also, to be better than our adversary, we need to develop the threat model to understand how the adversaries are trying to reach and enter our systems. What we are doing in NATO at large, and especially in my organization as a NATO Communication Information Agency. At NATO at large, we have a lot of, maybe not a lot, but a few bodies who are engaging in the risk assessment and threat modeling. There is a so-called, in the big picture, there is operational authority and the technical authority. In that case, we as an agency, as the primary service IT and cyber provider to NATO, we are playing the role as a technical advisor and technical authority for those systems. That's why we are deeply involved in that topic. The second thing that I would like to point it out, this is the cybersecurity framework and mechanism. So to be sure that our systems are robust, are secure, we need to implement the robust cybersecurity frameworks. And also ensure that continuous monitoring and detection and response capability are in place to mitigate the cyber threats. And the example, recently in NATO, we introduced the NATO Integration Cyber Space Center. What is that? This is an amalgamation of the military and the civilian skilled personnel who are working together, sharing the information. There is also the person, so-called the civilian coordinator, who is focusing and talking to the industry and academia, because we would like to be we would like to have the best knowledge from the outside NATO organization as well. Also, to be better protect, we need to also use the network segmentation, so to isolate the critical system and limit the spread of the potential breaches. We need to implement the strict security access to the system and allow that only authorized personnel to enter. And the next example, what we are doing, based on the Ukraine conflict, we are just moving and accelerating the movement business to the cloud. This is nothing new, but we are accelerating that, and we are working not only with that on the unclassified level and the higher classification, but all of them. Also, the one information for you, if someone is thinking that NATO unclassified, this is not classified information, you are wrong. NATO unclassified information is a classified information because not everyone can have the access to that. So to summarize that subject, we are moving business to the cloud on the unclassified level, restricted, and secret level. Because, as I said, we need to have the network segmentation to avoid the potential intrusion to our premises. Oleg just mentioned about the supply chain. This is also quite important in our endeavor because we are looking from the supply chain security perspective. We need to vet suppliers and the partners for the security, compliance, and establish secure communication channels. We need to monitor and audit how those elements are provided to us. And the example, what we are doing in that case. Recently, in the agency, we introduced the new acquisition reform, I can say. The new model of procurement of the equipment for the NATO use. This is not only the acquisition part, because acquisition part is supported by the technician, by the engineers, so-called the early engagement team, who engage with the potential vendors before even the contract is signed. We need to know what they can offer, and they need to know what the NATO is expecting from the potential vendor. The next point, which brings us closer to our security world, this is, of course, the redundancy and backup systems. This is nothing new. As you could suppose, we are doing that daily. Why I'm talking about that? Because maybe you are not aware the agency is displayed in the 3 continents, in North America, Europe, and Asia. And our people, our technicians daily are doing that backup system and doing the exercise to checking if those processes are in place. As I mentioned at the beginning, when we are talking about the security, we also need to pay attention to the physical security, because this is the arm to the CIS security. Recently we introduced in the agency so-called the Agency Security Office. What is that? This is a combination and collaboration of the physical security expertise and the CIS Communication Information Systems security expertise. It gave us a better visibility and transparency across the entire organization, and with that we can better support our operational partners. I just talked about the people, processes, and technology, but I would like to be back to the people component, because from my vantage point, this is the best value, people, talent. So, and we are providing the regular training for our IT and the cybersecurity colleagues. How we are doing that? At NATO, we have the few NATO academies. One of them is located in Oreirash. It is in the agency structure. So there we are providing the cybersecurity trainings for the individuals, starting from private soldiers through the leaders. We are increasing the awareness of people, how it is important. To have the mechanism, people, and technology in place, we need to have also some script. So that's why I'm talking now about the incident response plan. We have a plan at NATO, how we can react properly for the intrusion, what needs to be done, and how we need to progress, because this is not the matter of days, this is a matter of minutes. We need to be faster than our adversaries. So, and annually in NATO, at large at NATO, we have at least the annual exercise and enterprise plan finder, where we are training those procedures, and we are taking the lesson identified, which are changing in the lesson learned, and introducing practice in the new updated documents. Of course, the regular audits and assessment is needed. We are doing that for evaluating the vulnerabilities and identify and address the potential weaknesses. How we are doing that? We are inviting the external third-party vendors who are doing in our system penetration testing, and then based on the outcomes, they suggest to us what can or should be done to make our system more resilient. So, not to prolong, because I'm speaking, I think, so too much, but you know, just one sentence more. So, we as an agency, we are ready to support the alliance and partners in that endeavor. In our structure, we have also the NATO software factory, where we are testing those systems to be sure that there is no vulnerabilities, and even if we will find them, we can fix that later. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I wanted to move back to Oleksandr, and partly I would like to ask you to unpack a little bit more as for the supply chain and the challenges as for getting the pieces you need for what you are doing from other actors than China. But also I would ask you if you could tell us or share with us what you see as the biggest challenge from your point of view running the company that you run. I mean, or you have several companies, in fact, but please.
Of course, first thing that we have to do, we have to diversify our supply chain and to do it in Europe. Right now, we try to do it in Ukraine, but it's very complicated due to the few factors. First of all, we are always under attack, and to do the huge production of some components is very complicated. We understood that it will be more expensive to produce the drone components in Europe. In this way, unfortunately, right now, we, like Ukrainian drone producer, can't afford it to do. We can't to buy something in Europe or in US more expensive than in Asia countries. Why so? Because we are limited in our budget. That's why for me the first step that European Union with Ukraine have to do is to boost the localization of the spare parts for the defense industries. Grants, I don't know, credits, etc. The second question, what about the companies? My company, what kind of problem we have, first of all. Of course, the main problem is a shortage of money that we, right now, most Ukrainian companies have more capacity and capability to produce than we did right now. Before the global invasion, it was only 10, 12 companies which produce unmanned vehicles. Right now, it's more than 2,000. And I think approximately 500 have officially government contracts. What we can do? As I said previously, we can develop our technology with European partners. It's rather complicated because there is a high level of bureaucracy, first of all, and we have to apply for different kinds of restriction. That's why it's very long way for us right now, because we have to move fast. It's our advantages. That's why I think it's the main problems that we have to find solution for it. I saw how the UK, the Northern Europe, support us. First of all, our first joint venture will establish in Northern Europe. And I think it will be a rather good joint venture, because right now we've got like a previous agreement for the first contract. That's why we go step by step, but as of me, it's too slow right now.
Thank you, and I will open up the floor very soon, but I wanted also to ask another question, maybe to all of you, but perhaps start with Solomiia. From your perspective, what are the key lessons Europe should learn, and perhaps also not learn, from Ukraine's wartime experience, and also looking at an innovation in particular?
Very good question, but I think you'll get the very tough answer. Not to avoid the war in Ukraine, first of all. I mean, first of all, to bring back instructors to Ukraine, at least on the western part of Ukraine, to train our soldiers and to get our experience back, because that's what everybody needs. The second one I cannot mention about the very old initiative. That's about the closing the sky and the sky shield. That's actually what we asked and requested at least 3 years ago, 3.5, when the full-scale invasion started. Because now you need this experience, and Poland shows this literally the situation in which you are facing, and you don't know how to react, to be honest. Denmark, Norway, the same. Estonia, again, the same. And I'm pretty sure that it will be the very lasting challenge from the Russian side. That's the second thing. The other one, if you need the technologies and you need Ukrainians and you need to see how front reacting, you have to go to invest and cooperate and build together, the companies, ventures, whatever, but not to be afraid to come at least to the western part of Ukraine and to find a solution how to build underground or near the borders or in the eastern part of Ukraine, the companies producing. But what you didn't learn, I mean, Europe, you waste the time. 3.5 years you are relaxed, and I remember each year of the Warsaw Security Forum, and finally, here we have the huge discussion of the drones. But drones is not the new thing. That's what we faced almost on the second year of the war. Shaheds. That's what we're still thinking how to prevent them, how to about all these interceptor drones, how to sleep finally at least in Kyiv safely, not only in the shelters. Not to wait 20, 30 years where you have, according to the white paper of defense, Russia has to attack you. It's not only Ukrainian war. It becomes, unfortunately, the war in between two civilizations, Russian and European side. And as long as you avoid, as fast Russia will move and show you their force. And you know probably from the historian lessons, there is nothing except force, which and rockets actually, which Russia can actually understand. Not the diplomacy, unfortunately.
Do you want to comment any of the others of you?
If I may comment, thank you for that comments. I would like to bring one topic more. At least this is my vantage point, that we need to reduce the bureaucratic and bottleneck, because we need to be more agile and faster, because the adversary is not waiting for us. We need to be in front of them. That's why I'm kindly ask you, us as a NATO nations, if you have any influence, please talk to the respective people, and we need to try to change that together, to take the decision faster. I'm not talking that we are not taking the decision, but from the cybersecurity perspective, we need to be ready minute by minute. So waiting for the new solution is too length. That's why I mentioned in my intervention that recently, due to the willingness of NATO nations, we introduced the new procedure of the acquisition process. You know, this is thank you for nations to make us that happen. But this is also our lesson how we may find something in the different areas as well, not only in acquisition but also in the production and so on. Thank you.
Thank you. Bartosz, did you have a comment?
Yes, I will probably add to this that absolutely collective effort, it's what we need. Since awareness is there, we have this sense of urgency. It's already very late, hopefully not too late, but we have to take this strategy into tactics and then move to the plan and actually execute this, because we talk a lot. We discuss a lot. We are participating in different panels as well. But what we need is actually action. And as an entrepreneur, I would like to do something with it, like creating accelerator to meet with you, to really discuss on the field what can we do together in order to reshape the supply chain management, how to transfer both technology and data, how to work on synthetic data in order to be able to learn from all the experiences that you had in a very safe way for both NATO and you. And this is something that I guess this collective effort needs everyone, like army. We have, by the way, the best cybersecurity defense component in Poland, one of the best in NATO. I'm very proud of it. But we need more than this. We need everyone that will be contributing to this effort, because now is the time to do it for generations to come.
Thank you. And then Stefan, and then I will open up.
Yes, thank you. So I think two elements should be added to somehow help the situation. Number one is for startups or smaller companies. What's very important is to help them to bridge the valley of death. it's very easy to get money for a POC or for a demonstrator or that, but to really get it into production, it's hard. It's hard to get money, and one thing helps, and this is real procurement, not grants, not deeds and so on, but real procurement by the official side. And the other is, we have, and some mentioned the dependency on China, and we have in Europe a tremendous potential that we can unleash. It's a hidden behemoth. It's the tier 1, tier 2 suppliers, especially to automotive. Yeah, if you look, there are thousands and thousands of companies that can do mass production at a very good price point. They are optimized to the max, and they can be unleashed right in this situation to really produce the ones with a secure supply chain.
Thank you so much. So then, I am opening up, and I see many hands. So I will start with you, and then we'll go that way. So please state your name and affiliation, if you have one.
Hello, I'm Bennett Murray. I used to be a war correspondent in Ukraine. Now I'm more of a consultant. So I wanted to ask about building, Western countries building drones with Ukrainian expertise and building them in Ukraine. I'm well familiar with the incubators like Brave One and others that help bring Western companies to Ukraine. But realistically speaking, unless a company has their products out there every day in Bobrovska, Kupiansk, can they really hope to accomplish anything that could compete with the Russian feedback loops to do the same thing every day?
Thank you. I think we will collect the questions, and then you answer those that you would like to, please.
Lesya Robec, Ukraine. You know, in the war, it's important to understand who's winning and who's losing. So I do have a question to Major General. In terms of innovation, quickness, and effectiveness of production, who's winning right now? NATO countries learning from Ukraine, or China learning from Russia?
Thank you. And then pass it on, please. I think there is a woman there, and then the two gentlemen there.
Thank you. My name is Dorothea. I work in Kari International UK, private sector accelerator between startups and government and users. So my question is that we all agree that end users, so military and then startups, industry, and then government, who does the procurement, who have the funding, who are the buyers, have to cooperate. That's the objective. But my question is, like, how have you seen that in Ukraine worked well? I understand there is Brave One. I understand there are several examples of that, but I would love to hear an example, maybe from a startup perspective. What did you see working well, or from a government perspective? How can you actually do it? So the question is not like what we should do, but actually how.
And then we had two here as well. Please.
Tomasz Wadowski. I am the independent advisor to the defense sector. Mr. Oleksandr finished his speech that this process of closing cooperation between European and Ukrainian companies making new joint ventures are going too slowly. So if I can ask you to some clear bullet points, what should be done to accelerate this process and make this closer cooperation more faster?
Thank you. And then final there.
I hope you will remember my question after these 5 good questions too. So André Lezourou-Pietri, I'm running the Joint European Disruptive Initiative, so building the European version of DARPA. So we happy to cooperate with that. I mean, we just spent 3 days in Ukraine, and when you see that Brave One reduced apparently to 12 days, the turnaround between the request on the front line and the delivery, my question maybe to the General, you say we need to be more agile, but reforms DGA in France or reform BAMBV in Germany failed miserably. We are still at years. That means that we're also spending a lot of money on equipment that once it will be on the front line, will be by definition outdated. So my question is, I mean, it's great to say that, with all due respect, General, to be agile, but we don't see any boldness, and I don't see any minister saying to his second-grade people who are actually doing the procurement that if you have a problem with procurement laws, I will take the responsibility. It's easy to say to people, take the risks, but it's not happening. So what should happen? And my second question maybe to Solomiia, you said very rightly, in 2022 it was very obvious. We seem to discover how do we include strategic foresight? Because today we focus on drones, but the conflict in 2 years will be different. Will be, how do we anticipate? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Tough questions, good questions. I will then start with you, Oleksandr. We'll move this way, and this will probably be your final intervention as well. So, please.
Okay. First of all, I will answer about the joint venture and how it's possible to boost our cooperation. I would like to say about the Ukrainian experience. Before the global invasion, we will need to spend approximately 2 years to have the codification of the weapon according to the NATO standard. 2, even more, 3 years. Right now, we made the codification of our AI module. We spent 2 months. Maybe I will ask you, or General, for example, how long does it take to make the codification of some weapon according to the NATO standard in Europe? At least 2 years, I think so, maybe more. In modern warfare, you don't have so many times. Because you previously said, not here, in the other panel, that there is no reason to invest a lot of money in the unmanned vehicles because it changes very quickly and in 1 year it will be too old. That's why it's like a circle. We do not invest because it will be too old, and we do not invest because we have to spend 2 years for codification and for improvement. It's like, it's impossible things. And that's why what we have to do, what Europe have to do first of all, anyway, we've got 2 different kinds of the weapon. It could be like a deep tech, like an aircraft or something like this. But in addition, it's like a more civil dual-use weapon, like FPV drones, like interceptors. We have to simplify the bureaucracy in this way, is the first of all. The second one is the government support. First of all, of course, it's very complicated to make the collaboration between the startups, the accelerators, because it's a closed market. We've got only one end user, it's the government, because only government will buy the weapon. Or maybe some private companies, but it's not in Europe, only in US, for example. And in any way, under the government approval. That's why government need to provide the support. Right now, I can, in Ukraine, we are always under attack, but we can make any testings on the polygons during 1 week. For example, if we need, we made the request and our army gives the approval to make the testing of different kind of our solution, weapons or something like this. In Germany, I think we will spend 3 months at least to have this access to any, I don't know, any polygons or testing fields. That's why it's impossible to do quickly. In 3 months, it will be irrelevant, maybe so. That's why we need to provide the support in this way also. And of course, you know, as the we've got only one end user, it's like a financial support. It should be like different kind of grants, because in other way, as we know, like venture fund does not want to invest in military. They would like to see like a dual use perspective. But right now, Ukrainian companies does not think about the dual use. We think only about how to protect our country more effective. I did not miss any questions, or maybe?
I see anyhow that the time is running out, so maybe let the other ones have a chance also. Thank you so much, Stefan.
Thank you. I try to be briefly and address it to that area. I think a recipe that is working is lower the center of gravity. don't so much deal with the large defense primes, don't deal with the federal government, lower it. The mid-sized companies, state government or local government works fine in creating solutions and bringing up stuff. So really lower that center.
Thank you. Solomiia.
Foresight in future. You know, when the state is in the survival period, it's hard. It's hard to rely on. But my recommendation for European states, you have still time, and it's a part of political will for presidents and prime ministers to rely on your foresights and see. Now what they have, that's Ukraine as a foresight, and Frontline is a foresight. You have to use this time. For us, that's the different thing. That's just to survive. But what I want to say, unfortunately, Russia is very successful on that, and together with India, China, and all that allies, they are unfortunately seems to be stronger, and that's a problem for Ukraine, where they will stop in Dnipro, in Kharkiv, or in Kyiv, and capital will move. Who knows? Like we cannot live with the wishful thinking. That's the problem.
Thank you. Bartosz.
I guess we have to focus ourselves on the most important thing in a way that we will plan, do, check, and act. And let's spin this wheel as fast as possible. And let's do it in a small groups, because it's not about over-engineering it. It's about action and creating repetitive improvement.
Thank you. Krzysztof.
I have one easy question and one easier. So I will start with easy. So to answer your question, I'm convinced that we as a NATO nation will learn faster than Russia from China. Why I'm thinking like that? Because we are taking a lot of lesson learned from Ukraine. I will not talk in details, but my people are almost every time on the other part of the house in Ukraine. We are helping them. We are training them, and also we are learning from them a lot. Regarding the China and Ukraine support, as this is public now, Russia is looking for that support from China. They are doing that, but hopefully we are better. And as Bartosz said earlier, at least in Poland and in the other countries as well, but I would like to underline the Polish contribution to the cybersecurity. We have the great, brilliant team for the cybersecurity, and we are on the frontier. We are daily attacked by the intrusion, our networks, not only the military, but mainly the critical infrastructure. And answer your really easy question. To understand it, we need to. I need to draw some picture. We have that there is NATO is different layers. At the top, there is a North Atlantic Council who is taking the decision, and the decision is based on the consensus. All 32 nations need to decide we will go or not to go. Below that, there is a NATO committees and boards, and below them is the working groups. And we need to pass all of those entities to reach the NAC decision. And the NAC decision can be taken when the 32 nations approve it. This is quite complicated, I can tell you, because I have 20 seconds. When I joined the NATO HQ more than 4 years ago, I was thinking like you, it's easy. But I can convince you, it's not. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think there are many lessons that you have mentioned here already. And I think one key lesson is the ability to adapt quickly, scale rapidly, and integrate new ideas in real time. But I also think that agility in itself may be even more important than any single technology, as for Europe to learn. Anyhow, let me thank our panelists for their insights, and all of you for your engagement. Thank you so much.